Advent wreath for me to forget to light today. We will continue on. Actually, as I said before, not that I'm trying to defend my actions, I just wanted to test to see if you were awake.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I just forgot. I don't know what it is. Maybe I've opened myself up to this, but I had two people last week at the door just holding on and asking me again and again, and not, there wasn't a willingness to walk away until I had answered their question. Was it some incredible theological conundrum? Was it, why is there something and not nothing? Why do bad things happen to good people? Well, I guess in a way the question was a variation on that very question. They wanted to know if the Lions would win. So I said, they're playing Green Bay, right? In Green Bay. I said, oh, you can take it from me, they will not win. And there's a reason that I mentioned that. You'll see as we move along, as we talk about the Magi today. It's been a long time, as far as I can recall, that I've had anything at all to say about the Magi. The texts and the way the years fall and the texts fall in the years, there just hasn't been an opportunity to do so. And I think also the other thing too is I think that the Magi, I think for a lot of people who do what I do, sometimes I think we're not all that certain what to make of them. Of course, I can tell you, and I'm not trying to rain on anybody's parade or ruin your Christmas next year or anything. It never says there were three wise men. It never says that. It never says they were kings. It never says in Matthew's gospel. It never says that one was Casper, the other was Melchior, and the other was Balthasar. Those are all traditions that rose up later on. But so now that I've ruined your Christmas, but anyway, it is difficult, at least initially, to really make sense of the Magi and also the meaning of the gifts that they bring to this child, Jesus. At the root, I think, of my discomfort with the Magi is, and in fact, the word Magi is where in English we get our word magic. That should tell you something. But I think at the root of my discomfort is the fact that the Magi did professionally, this is how they made their living, this is how they paid the mortgage, they did professionally what I just last Sunday at the door made a rather lame attempt at. That is to push back the veil that shields tomorrow and is to peer into the mystery of the future and to see people and to see events and circumstances and moments and movements with a clarity that rivals HD TV. And how they did this, well, like any other profession, they had their tricks of the trade and their techniques. Matthew tells us that these ancient astrologers, and I've never put much stock in astrology. One of the problems is I can't quite figure out if I'm Pisces or Aquarius, because that keeps changing from time to time. But if you've ever had occasion to look in the paper and to check out your horoscope for the day, I think you've noticed that they're so general that they could basically apply to anybody. It could be about Pastor Oberle, or it could be about Dan Baker. We had no way of knowing for certain what this is all about. But undergirding that belief and the practice of astrology, and this is certainly one of the things that the Magi was involved in, is the understanding or the belief that the sky and the earth are intimately connected, and that there are signs below and signs above, and that they connect and they communicate to each other, and the trick is to be able to discern what exactly is being said. But in the case, the Magi, these ancient astrologers, and I guess somewhat astronomers, looked into the night sky, and they saw years and years ago in that infinite blackness a clear sign that something extraordinary was about to take place in the midst of the world. Of course, the question arises, what did they see? And there's no end to the ink that has been spilled. We know that Halley's Comet passed about 1211 BC. I wasn't there to see that. I can't verify that, but that's what astronomers tell us. Now that would certainly get your attention. It could have been the cataclysmic death of a star, a supernova, where a star, in a sense, burns the last remnants of its fuel, and it expands, and in fact, it has happened before, and there have been instances where stars have died light years away and actually shine brighter than the moon at night for a few weeks. But that, I think you would agree with me, would also get your attention. But more than likely, where most people come down is that there was a conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn. And we know that this happened about 706 BC, which would be just about right for the birth of Jesus. And so what happens in a conjunction is the two come so close that at certain points, it would actually look as if there were just one star. And certainly in this case, if there were men, people, magi, standing in a place that you and I know as Iraq, the two together so close would appear as one brilliant star. Jupiter is the king of the planets. Jupiter is a gas giant. There's lots of people filled with gas, but this particular planet is, and I won't go any further than that, but anyway, Jupiter is understood to be the king of the planets, and I don't know how this came to be, but I've read many places that Saturn, in terms of astrology, is sometimes connected with the Jewish people. And so the two coming together, the Magi stand there and they do their calculations and they think to themselves, aha, the king of the Jews. Well, that might actually be the way it all went down, but then again, maybe not. But I would just say this to you, and I don't know why I'm saying this, but if you should ever find yourself on Jeopardy or some other game show and the question is for $1 million about the Magi, you'll be ready. You will be ready. All I ask is 10%. That's all I ask. I think at the root of my discomfort, though, and I've kind of alluded to this before, is my belief that so much of astrology and all of the related stuff is just a lot of baloney. And I say baloney because I'm standing in a place that deserves a special amount of respect. And yet the fact of the matter is, as much as I can be dismissive of it, whatever it is that they saw, whatever they did, it would appear that these Magi got it right. Suddenly found themselves making a long-distance trip across really dry and dusty and open places. And of course, the question then, and I alluded to this too at the beginning, is what are we to make of those gifts? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Of course, as someone has written, I'm sure you've heard this before, if it had been 3 wise women, they would have asked for directions. They would have arrived on time. They would have helped deliver the baby. They would have cleared the stall and cleaned it, made a casserole, and they would have given practical gifts. Some say that the bizarre gifts are appropriate for royalty, being given, gifts given from royalty to royalty. Hence the understanding or the traditional belief that what we have here are 3 kings from the east. Others say that the gifts point to Jesus' death. And in particular, that would be the myrrh and the frankincense, and we know it was used oftentimes to surround the body, to hold off the smell of decay. So talk about bizarre, like giving a newborn babe, a special coupon for a casket and some embalming fluid. This is really strange. And still others say that in essence these gifts were aspects and tools of the trade, and so as they come and they stand before this child and his mother and they lay them down, they are laying down the implements of black magic. And what they are in essence saying is that they are walking away from it. Well, it's all rather exotic, isn't it? and it's strange, which in a way I think is Matthew's point. That their presence in Bethlehem says something about the nature of this child, the character of this life, and the far reach of God's amazing and perplexing grace. It's not what you would expect. It's nothing that you could ever, in a sense, comfortably fit within the bounds of popular expectation. And other unexpected foreigners throughout his ministry will find their way to him, like a magnet. He will draw them, the broken and the forgotten, and the last and the least. They will come to him, and each in their own unique way will receive from him a gift that the world cannot give. And each, if you think about it, and you should be able to recall some of these events and some of these encounters, in every single instance, people will come to him and will walk away, and they will go home, like the Magi, by a new and a different route. I would say to you in no uncertain terms, as a kind of, what we have in Matthew today is a kind of, I think, a capsule summary in just 12 verses. The trajectory of this little boy's life. As a son of Abraham, he will draw the world to himself. He will bless it in ways that no one could have ever imagined. He will change the course of lives. And the world itself will never be the same again. And for many people in the world, it will be an occasion for fear, like Herod. And for others, it will be an occasion for joy. I was just reading the other day, one of the greatest thorns in the flesh of China and that tyrannical government is not the United States Navy or its Air Force, but it is the church, and in particular the Roman Catholic Church. The 60 million Catholics, 60 million Catholics who live and have gone underground in China. Christians fill the government with fear and foreboding. Some things, thank God, never change. And the final analysis, and I can only speak for myself, is saying simply this, that life would be unthinkable and unbearable without this child. It has been my conviction throughout my life, and it is the conviction of the church at every time and every place, that this child still changes lives. He sends people in new directions, that he is the way home. Like no one before or since, he makes it possible for people to dream, to believe that someday love will overcome hate. It enabled me back in August with my own father and my own sister to stand around the bedside for 10 days and to believe something that totally contradicted what my eyes told me to be true, that life would arise out of death, that joy would come again. As far as predictions are concerned, I think you'll agree with me. I think I should stick to my day job. But I will venture this. The world's need for good news, the love of God, and the presence of Christ will be as great in 2019 as it has ever been. And that, I would say to you, you could literally bet your life. Amen.